Hey there folks, John here, aka Biddy Kong from the Bit Vault. Well, I'm basically just a collector. I'm just a guy that has a bunch of games that I hung on to most of my stuff from childhood, and that's where most of my collection comes from. Now, I do also collect stuff, yard sales, the normal places you pick stuff up, but I especially look for stuff that's in rough shape, so that I can kind of save some of the stuff that other people don't really want. That's kind of my thing, and, that's why I started the channel, is just to share some of that stuff. I'm also, I'm a collector, but I'm also a historian. I love the history of gaming and the history of specific games. I'll spend hours just looking up all the history of a series or watching YouTube videos about the history of a specific game or something like that. That's like one of my favorite things to do. I'm a super nerd that way. My first video game memory is actually of my dad. Now, my dad, you have to understand, is a football coach, or was a college football coach. He's retired now, but he was a college football coach. So at the time, when I was younger, he was super into sports. So video games weren't really a thing. And then I remember I was probably 4 years old, and I saw him playing his Atari. And in fact, I have that very Atari right here. This is a launch day Atari. I've still got the box hanging out up there. It just wouldn't fit in the video frame. But, yeah, so this is a launch day Atari, and I remember I used to watch him, and he would be playing none other than football. Makes sense, he was a football coach. But yeah, that's kind of my earliest video game memory. Now, as far as me actually playing, this was just kind of a watching thing. As far as me actually playing, I remember when I was, about, I think 4 years old for Christmas, we got the NES, and that's the same NES that you see right there. And for Christmas, we also got two games. We had Mario Duck Hunt, which, everybody got Mario Duck Hunt. We got the Power Set, which, again, boxes up there. The one with the Power Pad and the track and field sports and that sort of thing, which was super fun. My sister and I loved that. One of the only times we were getting along is actually when we were playing video games, and then we would fight over something because I beat her, she beat me, and then it would devolve into madness again, of course. But the two games we got, which I still play fairly regularly to this day, were Bubble Bobble. Absolutely adore Bubble Bobble. Love this game. And then also Snake Rattle and Roll. Now you see this one's actually complete in box. And until very recently, it was not complete in box. I actually found this box manual, everything at a retro store, and it had a gigantic sticker on it. And on a video on my channel, I actually restored this one to its former glory. So this is actually looking really good. And I'll talk a little bit more about restoration when we get to the collecting question. The hardest part for this is ore. So I'm just going to run through all three real fast. My favorite console, definitely the NES. Now, originally in high school, my favorite was the Super Nintendo because I was super into JRPGs. And if you were into JRPGs in that era when the Super Nintendo was current, that was the place to be. There were so many good ones. Now, I'm older and I have 3 kids and I'm married and I have a full-time job and all this other stuff. And I don't have time for JRPGs anymore. I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles, I kid you not, I have been working on for 4 years. And I will finish it, but I have Xenoblade Chronicles X sitting on the shelf, still in the shrink wrap, waiting to be played. And it's like a year and a half old at this point. So, JRPGs, I love them, but I don't have time anymore. So I've kind of regressed back to the NES. And the NES I love because I can sit down, I can have a play session that lasts like an hour, and I can feel like I actually did something. And in that regard, my favorite genre really is platformers. I love platformers. I love the Capcom platformers. I love the, Mario and all that other stuff. That's really like where I live and where I love. And then my favorite game is actually a JRPG, and that is Chrono Trigger. And I know that this is actually a fairly popular choice. I know there's a lot of people that love Chrono Trigger. I know there's a lot of praise for it. And, I think it's very well deserved. You know, multiple endings, super cool artwork, great story. You know, I don't have to say there's not enough good things to say about Chrono Trigger, right? There's very few people that dislike it. Um, you know, I know some people that think that it's overrated, and I think that's perfectly fine. But I know very few people that actually dislike the game. So that's my favorite game. Really blew my mind as a teenager, and that's kind of it. And I play it at least once a year. My favorite NES game, since I said that that's my favorite system, is Little Nemo. Do that right there. See, try not to drop the game. Little Nemo. Really an overlooked game on the NES, I think, and actually the only game that I can play long enough and play over and over and over again long enough to speedrun. So working on the speedrun for that. I'm not wonderful, but maybe one day I'll get that world record. But Little Nemo, favorite game on the NES. So what do I collect and why? Well, we'll hit the what first. Pretty much I collect anything that has a cartridge. I'm a huge Nintendo nut. You can probably tell that by the stuff behind me. And don't get me wrong, I do have disc-based stuff too, and I actually have every mainstream system from the Atari 2600 to present day. And you know, there's a few that I'm missing in there, like the 3DO and some of the really obscure ones. But I have most of them, and I do collect for all of those. Now, what I'm really into right now, really trying to bolster some more of my NES collection. Like I said, I've got over 200 games, but there's a bunch out there that I really want. You know, several holy grails in that regard. I love Super Nintendo stuff, N64 stuff, that sort of thing. Really getting into the Master System lately. I never really had a Master System growing up, and as far as I knew, growing up, I didn't even hear about Sega until the Genesis was around. The Master System just wasn't super popular in the States, as far as I know. So that's kind of where that is. The Master System. Let's see, what else? PSP, getting into, I mean, I have had a PSP for a long time. Really starting to collect a lot of PSP games because they're super cheap right now. If you're interested in, like, starting a new collection for a new system, PSP is the way to go. Do it. And then why? Well, basically, I collect to play, which, you know, I'll go into that here in a little bit. But one of the main reasons I collect is because I love to restore stuff that has been neglected or, you know, is in really rough shape. I actually do videos just based on, hey, this is how you can restore this thing. You know, I kind of mentioned that with the Snake Rattle and Roll. You know, that box was in rough shape, and then I brought it back to life. I really like taking something that nobody else wants and making it into something that kind of returns it to its former glory. So I seek out stuff that, you know, has water damage on the cartridge, or has marker, or has, you know, some gunk on the label, or something like that. And I just see it's a challenge for me to see if I can restore it to its former glory. You know, I even seek out stuff that has ripped labels off of it. And actually, most of the time when I walk into a retro game store, I'll say, "Hey, you got anything without a label on it?" Because usually they can't sell that. And usually they have something, and they'll sell it to me for really cheap. Now, my favorite video game memory is actually not necessarily a happy one, which I think is a little bit weird. I think a lot of people think, "Yo, that's what your happiest memory." Well, this isn't really my happiest memory, but it is the one that means the most to me. As I said before, my dad was a football coach growing up, and if you know anything about the coaching industry, you know, he spent literally 6 months of the year out, you know, all over the country recruiting. And that's kind of how college football works. Is they got to go out and they got to find players to bring into the university to bring onto their team. So he was basically out recruiting, and he was just gone a lot. So I remember, I don't know, I might have been 5 or 6. He was gone on one of these recruiting trips, and I hadn't seen my dad for like a month. You know, he would come back every now and again, but I hadn't seen him for like a month, and I was just like a little kid missing his dad. Like, whoa, like I was just like having a real rough time. So my mom, my sister went over to somebody's house for a sleepover or something like that, and so it was just me and my mom that night, and she just felt really bad for me, I think, and she just took me to the rental store, and she's like, "All right, look, I know, you can rent anything you want to. It doesn't matter what it is. Just rent whatever." I think she let me rent like 3 games that night. But what I do remember is that she let me rent the original Mega Man, and I've actually got it right here. Interestingly enough, this is that copy of Mega Man that I rented that day, because we went when the rental store went out of business, and I bought this copy of Mega Man. So this is that game, and you know, we sat on the couch. And, you know, I think we just ordered pizza and had popcorn, and, you know, it was just like a chill night. that I just needed because I just, you know, wanted to hang out with somebody. And my mom doesn't play video games. I mean, gosh, she's so bad. I might have seen her pick up a controller twice in my life, and this was one of those nights. And she sat and she played Mega Man of all things with me. And I remember this was the first night that I got to Wily 1 in Mega Man, and at that point I was hooked. And Mega Man is actually my favorite series, period. And a lot of it has to do with that memory, and that was just a really special memory to me. Again, not the happiest memory, because I woke up the next day and my dad was still gone for several weeks, and I was, you know, not super happy about that. But that particular night is a really special one to me, and that's my favorite gaming memory. Really, it's both. I mean, to be honest, now more emphasis on play than collect. I really don't grab anything that I don't intend on playing. So, you know, a lot of times I will, if I see something that I've never seen before, like an NES game or something that I just don't see come up very often, I might grab it just because I'm like, why, when am I going to see this again? As long as I can get it for a good price. I hardly ever pay, you know, inflated prices for stuff. I think that that's only feeding the market, which is already too inflated as it is. But if I can get it for a reasonable price, I will absolutely buy, you know, whatever, with the intention to play it. If I don't plan on playing it, I don't buy it, because, you know, I do collect to play. A good example of that is I've got, actually sitting right here on the desk, Stinger, which I keep going on the wrong side of the camera, but Stinger, this is the NES version of the second Twinbee game, which I didn't even realize they released any Twinbee games in the US and actually localized them. They changed the name to Stinger. But yeah, I'd never seen this before. I didn't even know this existed. So I saw this in a retro store the other day. I think I picked it up for $7.50, which for me, for a game that I have never really seen in the wild before, totally worth it for me. So as far as collecting goes, I'm really not huge on, I have to have like a complete NES library. I get it. There's people that collect to collect, they collect to speculate, that sort of thing. They might just collect because they're a huge fan of the NES. Totally fine. No problem with that, but that's not really what I do. If I buy something, I plan on playing it, and I probably plan on sharing it with other people. Like I said, I'm a bit of a game historian, so I like to play something and then look at the history of it, figure out, okay, you know, this has this really weird localization thing. Why is that? And, you know, I see it as a way for me to gain more knowledge and really become, you know, just better informed on the systems that I play and the games that I play, because I find all kinds of hidden gems that I had no idea about, you know, by collecting so that I can play them. So that's really it. It's a pretty simple answer for me. So speaking of playing games, though, I think it's time for that 1943 playthrough. So like I said, this is completely blind. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm really not great at shmups, even though I just showed you a shmup, which is actually a cute-em-up, but it's still a shmup. So this should be really interesting. I'm sure I'm not going to do nearly as well as some of these other guys that have done this, but I'm going to try, dang it. Okay, 1943. So, like I said, complete noob. Never played this game ever. I have seen a couple of people play it, to be fair, because I watched a few of the videos of this series before this. But that is all. So, here we go. So from what I understand, you start the game. That's the first step. And then you give yourself points, and you can actually upgrade stuff in between levels. You have a special weapon, which is lightning, which is the A button, I believe. And I'm playing on a USB SNES pad, because I usually play physical stuff. I usually don't use an emulator, as I said. But I don't have this game. So anyways, anyway, yeah, so add some points here. So I'm going to go a little bit of offensive power, I think. a little bit of decent defensive power, and then energy level because I'm probably going to get hit a lot. So, yes, this is okay. Rikaru. No, Rikaku. Fight. Alright, so, here we go. Alright, so yeah, B is my just normal shot. I know A is my lightning. That's a screen clearing attack, so I'm actually not going to use that yet. I will use it eventually. I'm sure I'll get in trouble. Or I'll just save it until it's too late. So I saw some people shooting the POW thing to like change it into a different weapon. See if that works. Oh, that does work. At least I assume that's what it was doing. I don't know. That gray, yeah, that gray plane needs to go away. So it's not like a traditional shmup in the sense that, or NES shmup, I probably shouldn't say shmup in general, in the sense that you have 2 or 3 lives. Instead, you have hits that you can take. Getting overwhelmed. And I'm traditionally not that great at shmups. Just, fair warning. Fair warning. Ah! Okay. No, we're good. We're good. I panicked when there was nothing on the screen. Did you guys see that? So, after I do this... Ooh, I don't know what that was. That's an interesting thing. That's what that was. So, my cardinal sin, and what usually gets me in shmups, is going after the enemies and not trying to not trying to avoid the bullets. So once you get close to the ships, you go down close to the ships. There we go. And I will say I totally cheated a little bit because I saw somebody else do that in the video. So if you do the lightning at the right time, it'll freeze the ships apparently. Which is actually, I think I just did that over time. Oh, okay, so I guess you don't want the spread shot here? Because it doesn't let me hit the ships like I want. Crap. Alright, here we go. Boss time, maybe? No, not boss time. Forget that. Forget I said anything. Oh, no, this is a boss. Never mind. Can I do that? Can I hit the ship? Like, can I actually make contact with the ship? Yes, I can. Okay. There's a lot of shmups, you make contact with the boss and you just straight up die. Did it work? Yeah, did I get it? Did I do it? Did I do it? Yes! Eat that, you stupid ship. Alright, mission 1 clear. Rikaku, sink a ship. Destructive rate 100%. That can't mean I killed all the enemies. I definitely didn't kill all the enemies. Charged energy 40. Interesting. Target Kaku. Instead of Rikaku, my target is Kaku. Creative naming schemes here. Alright, so let's see what happens. See, I like, usually when I play shmups, I'm playing cute-em-ups like Fantasy Zone or Twin Bee or something similar to that, so this is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but that's okay. We can handle it. Oh, the stupid shit. Okay. Oh, can I not hit him when he goes close? I don't think I can't hit him when he goes down. Ooh, what is that? I just got a thing, but I don't know what that thing is. You never know what the thing is. Oh, I guess my special weapon just runs out after a while. Well, that's good to know. Oh, I wonder if that's what that number on the bottom left is. I think I actually like the straight shot better, to be honest. I can fire it faster and kill stuff quicker. Not quite figured out if the like grabbing a power up when you don't have the grabbing a power-up when it's not, like, turned into a different icon, if that's actually does anything. Alright, I think I got through the gauntlet. Yep, alright. Down we go. Alright. Well, that's a heck of a start. Yeah, that's right. Die, ship. Oh, that... Oh, those, like... Oh, they're like artillery shells. They just hang out in the air for a little bit. Oh, that kind of sucks a little bit. We got it. We got it. We're good. We're good. Through it. We're through it. Alright. This maybe is the boss. When the background changed last time, it was the boss. So... Ooh. Is this like an aircraft carrier thing? I think it is. That's right. Freeze! I'm just gonna do this again. Yep, it's an aircraft carrier. I probably should have known that from the airplanes flying out from underneath the hull. Ooh, crap! Oh, this thing's no joke. It's no joke. Ah. No! I had one gun! One gun left! That's all I had! But that's the only life I get. Well, there you go. 1943. Final score. 125,300. I just want to take a second, thank Chasing Happiness for having me on his channel. This has been really, really fun. It's been really great, and I thank you guys for watching. And I guess until next time, I'll see you guys later.